Hi, my name is Sam Hall. I'm co-founder and managing director of UMA. We're a not-for-profit social enterprise based in Aberystwyth, and we exist to create the conditions where primary care in Wales thrives now and for future generations. One of the ways that we're working towards our purpose as an organisation is through our role in supporting primary care cluster working. And we host the All Wales Cluster Leads group and have been enabling cluster lead engagement in the accelerated cluster development program to date. So today I'm delighted to be speaking to Dr. Karen Pardy. Karen is a GP partner at Lansdowne Surgery and is also a cluster lead for Cardiff Southwest. And my intention really in this conversation is to understand a little bit more about how collaboration across primary care has and should contribute to meeting the needs of the communities in Cardiff, and specifically focusing on the opportunities and risks that the Accelerated Cluster Development Programme brings into the system. So welcome, Karen. Thanks for taking time.
Thank you, Sam.
To kick things off, really, it's just to maybe take a little bit of a step back and to hear about your views on collaboration, kind of as a concept, and why you think it's important for the communities that we serve that the system really enables you and your colleagues to work together.
Yeah, so I think definitely speaking as a GP, and obviously I came into clusters from that GP primary care perspective. I think one of the key frustrations that I had in my work as a GP was that various parts of the system just don't join up. And we want to help and support our patients, but it's very difficult and it's very frustrating for us and it's frustrating for them. Often we find patients are bounced around to different areas of the system, and as GPs, we do form a bit of a sort of central point of contact for our patients, and it can be really difficult for us to try and navigate the whole system and find out where is the best support for these patients. So I think coming into cluster working, this was one of the key things that excited me about being part of the cluster and of collaborating with others, in just being able to access that support in a much more streamlined way. I mean, it's not perfect by a long way, but it certainly made things a lot easier just to really find that right support and get people the help they need in a more timely way as well, because we do find people are often waiting for very long periods, and that obviously can lead to an escalation in their problems, whereas if you can put in interventions in a more timely way, you prevent things from getting worse. So I think that's where I came from originally, in that sort of collaborative approach, and particularly it was collaborating with the third sector that really sort of kicked things off in our cluster.
Great. And yeah, maybe expanding on that a little bit, when we're over 10 years into cluster working now, so it's been over a decade, and I know you've certainly been involved in it for some time. So can you just share a little bit around, what has it enabled for you in your practice and your patients? What's been good, but also maybe some of the things that you felt hadn't quite gone as well as you would have liked.
Yeah, okay. So the things that have gone well, I think, when I come back to, as I say, that collaboration with the third sector that started right from the start, which evolved into social prescribing as that term became much more commonly used. And we've got such great links with third sector organisations and really such fantastic support about linking people in within their own community, which is really important as well. And it's that personal approach which matters so much to our patients, and to us as well. And so that's formed the sort of bedrock of the collaborative working, and just being able to point patients in the right direction and get them the help they need, and then get that feedback about how it's helped them. As things have developed, we've then, got more and more projects in place, and we've developed collaboration more with other providers as well, particularly with social care and also with other healthcare providers in the community, which, you know, historically we hadn't had great links with, but particularly through our Transformation Fund project, it's brought in that multidisciplinary team approach and that integrated working where we really are all, you know, literally working together in the room or the virtual room, talking to our colleagues about some really quite complex problems that we're trying to sort out, and it really needs a collaborative approach. There's not one service that's going to sort out this particular person's issues. It's often a number of different services, or you know, or other types of support in the community, and that's been really empowering. It's obviously we've had great feedback from our patients, but also from other members of the team and the staff who just find their working lives is so much better because of being able to collaborate in that way. You asked as well about what hasn't gone so well, and it is important not to try to sort of put across that everything's absolutely perfect in Cardiff South West. There's lots of great things, but there's still frustrations. Inevitably, you know, everybody's under pressure, and it can sometimes be difficult to get those right connections in place. Patients still do get bounced around the system. There's a reality. We're currently facing huge waits, obviously because of COVID, so, and limitation in services because of all the pressures that everybody's under. We've had sort of frustrations in things that we've tried to implement, just the way clusters are set up. They're not autonomous organizations, so it's very difficult for us sometimes to actually, you know, we don't hold the funds, and there's often lots of hoops to go through. We're not able to work in that really agile way that I think would make us much more effective at that community and cluster level if we were able to just put things in place a lot more quickly. But we do face very long delays over things like recruitment and procurement. So it can be frustrating, and there have been things that we've wanted to do, but we haven't been able to do.
Yes, yeah, and I think that certainly came through quite strongly in some of the work that you've been involved in colleagues in the All Wales Cluster Lead Group, and we've talked a lot about what matters to cluster leads is that, you know, autonomy to do the work that you want to do and maybe stop doing the work that you don't. Yeah, so that certainly echoes some of that work. I mean, just you're probably one of those cluster leads that have taken a more active role in kind of understanding and shaping the accelerated cluster development program, and I suppose not all colleagues around Wales would have had the same opportunity to do that. So with your kind of, I'd say, you know, quite good understanding of the possibilities within ACD, how do you think what's proposed is going to unblock or perhaps, you know, improve what you've currently spotted as some of the challenges in cluster working?
I think one of the key things going forward is maintaining that bottom-up approach, and I think that the way the ACD is proposed is around maintaining that. So rather than having the sort of very top-down approach that it should be, that the clusters are then driving what happens throughout the system, I think having structures in place to enable partners to be part of cluster working. There are colleagues in other parts of the system, for example, optometry, dental, where we've, you know, found it harder to engage with those services, just, you know, for many reasons, but probably largely because of time is needed. And I think one of the key elements that is needed in order to really bring clusters forward is to enable people to have time to be involved, and that's something we've definitely noticed in our cluster. So there's potential in actually bringing the partners together from that point of view. I think the challenge is very much that clusters are at very different sort of stages and have developed in very different ways. So it is going to be challenging to have some sort of overarching structure that allows clusters to continue developing in the way they have done, because it is all about relationships, and the danger is if you bring in a structure, then you may undermine some of those relationships going forward. So I think there's definitely a lot of challenges. But I think the key thing is about bringing all of the relevant stakeholders together. So that's an important thing, but it's about maintaining the good work that's happened already and not undermining that. That's really important.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting you say that, because I think one of the themes that we've heard in our work across the last year, but also in this series of conversations that we've convened for the strategic program, is a desire to not lose what's already been created, because it does take so long to build trust, to develop relationships, and that actually there's something about this program enabling that good work to be amplified and consolidated, and even just helping that basic stuff work better, rather than creating a whole new industry that maybe will then distract from that core work. So it's a kind of an and rather than an or. So it's I hear that. So I mean, and I also know that in Cardiff Southwest you've had some pretty ambitious work that's been going on recently around the formation of a community interest company. So what really excites you about the possibilities of ACD now that you've kind of started to take that step forward? What do you think might be different for you in Cardiff Southwest?
Well, I think we're obviously really excited to see the potential of the community interest company, how we can use that to deliver services in a different way, as I said, a much more sort of agile way, without a lot of the bureaucracy that often goes around trying to implement change. So we're really excited about it from that point of view. I hope and believe that the ACD will allow us to, to really fly with that and to see what the true potential of the community interest company is. It's a big unknown at the moment, and we've got lots of discussions going on at various levels. We formed the company, which is great, and that was a big step as well. There's a lot of trust needed to bring together the relevant partners to form that community interest company. So, we're really pleased that we've got to this point, but now we really are excited to see what the potential is. But it is a big unknown. I don't know exactly which way we'll go, but certainly all of the discussions we've had so far are that, the ACD will support us to be able to explore that potential. So it's exciting times, but I don't know quite what the answer is yet.
Yeah, and I think I don't think you're alone in that, and I think what would be really nice to reflect on, perhaps as we bring this conversation to a close, is to those colleagues out there who perhaps haven't been as close to this as you have, certainly in the last decade, but also to some of this transformation work going forward. What would be kind of some of your advice, perhaps, or some of the actions or the things that they might want to think about as we go into this next phase of development?
I think that for me, the key is all about relationship building. That's the number one priority. It's about bringing people together. It's talking about what they can offer, how they can support the people within the community, and how we can do things together, keeping that focus on our patients, our citizens, and looking at how we can do things differently as well. And so there's no one size fits all in this, that's for sure. It's not about taking a particular model and transplanting that in other areas. Every area across the whole of Wales, they've got very different needs, very, very different ways of working together. But it is all about building those relationships and working together.
Well, that's a great way to end the conversation. So, focusing on the community and each other. And finding that thing to hook your energy into that will then enable you to move forward. That's great. Oh, thank you so much, Karen. I really appreciate your time today. And as I've said on many occasions before, UMA exists in service to you and your colleagues. So we're hoping that we'll be able to kind of stand side by side with you over the coming months and years to deliver this vision for clusters and collaborative working. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.